Hello from Fredericton, New Brunswick. I'm here inside the arena today because it's storming. It's going to storm pretty bad and the horses have been and will be in today. So I wanted to give Nova a little bit of free time to move around before I actually get on and ride. She's not doing too much, but anyway, I want to talk about something I get a lot of DMs and private messages about, and that's equine respiratory issues, especially in the wintertime. And I want to talk about what might be causing that and what you can do about it. So one of the main reasons that we get a lot of that sort of expression of cough, that singular cough that happens when people start to ride in the winter, is that in the winter, the ground is hard. Horses don't move around as much as they do in the summer. They also may not get as much exercise because of cold weather. We don't want to really work our horses below certain temperatures. For me, it's -12. For other people, it's different temperatures, but that's kind of what I go with. And so they don't get as much moving and work, sorry about that, as they do in the summer. She's very playful, little mare. So they usually go to their hay and then their water and their hay and their water, and that's kind of it. And so they're really not moving around. It also might be because their feet are sore, it's cold, the ground is hard, and so that makes their feet sore. They may be aged and their joints might be a little achy and sore. And then the other thing is they may be trying to conserve energy just to stay warm. And so that's a consideration as well. Some horses, when they're outside and they do go from their hay to their hay to the water, when they do go to their hay, they are mostly eating off a round bale in some situations. And when they eat off a round bale, what they tend to do is, because they're not obligate nose breathers, they can breathe while they eat. And so they'll make a hole and they'll stick their nose in it and they'll just keep eating out of that hole until they go to China, pretty much, if you let them. And so what they're doing is they're breathing is, get away from that, please. Thank you. We have some paraphernalia there by the door and a chair, and so sorry, I just did not want her to get into trouble there, so I just moved her away from that. Because they're obligate nose breathers, they breathe and they eat at the same time. So while they have their head in that hole, they're breathing in all the dust and debris from the hay. This can also include mold spores and toxins or mycotoxins from mold spores, which can get caught in the capillaries of the lungs. If you were to take the capillaries of a 1,000-pound horse and spread them out, it would be about the size of a tennis court. Some people say, I just watched a video on a nasal strip from a nasal strip company, and they say 10 tennis courts. I don't know about that, but there's no scientific study about that. That's just measurement versus space. So anyway, not really important, but onward. So a lot of dirt, debris can get caught in the capillaries of the lungs because the capillaries are so tiny and small. Some other things can be, this time of year especially, snow mold. If you don't know what snow mold is, in the fall, when things are decaying, mold spores are released, and then during the winter the snow creates sort of an insulation, and things are active and brewing underneath the snow. And then when the snow finally comes to the melt stage, you see these white patches. That's snow mold, and they do also give off spores, which can cause mycotoxins to build up in the body as well. Also seasonal allergies. In the spring, things start to bloom, of course. That happens. Arena dust, dust from the barn. We're lucky here, the owner of the barn has put in big fans so that there's constantly, leave the muck bucket. There's constantly airflow and movement. Gotta watch her all the time. So that's really great. The storm's starting to pick up. I'm gonna try riding this a little bit. She's pretty good though. And the other thing is supplements. Some people don't realize that when you feed your supplements dry, again, because they're obligate nose breathers, they can forage and move around the supplements, and they can be breathing in that dust while they're eating. So I always like to recommend that you wet your feed for many different nutritional reasons. There she goes again. But also, all I had to do was look at her that time. But also for that respiratory factor there too. So those are some of the things that that can happen and why things build up in the lungs. One of the ways that you can help your horse migrate these things out is actually exercise. So if you think about something called respiratory locomotor coupling, what that means, and that fancy term means, is just that when the horse canters forward and they're on the forehand, their hind legs have to lift, and in that lift, the cecum, the intestines, and all the organs inside the digestive system push against the diaphragm, which helps to expel air out of the lungs. When they complete that forward motion and then they rock backwards, that helps to pull air back into the lungs. So it's like a piston system inside the horse. And this is why horses can run for long distances, and the actual act of respiration while they're running really doesn't use a lot of calories. The calories are burned in the muscles and in the body throughout, but respiration doesn't really use up a lot of calories in consideration, while a horse is cantering. So working your horse and making sure they trot or canter in the winter is one really great way to help the horse express those built up debris and toxins in the lungs, because as they rock forward and are on the forehand and that piston action is pushing, it's actually helping to express debris, and that's why that cough actually happens. So that cough is not necessarily a bad thing unless it continues over time, and some people like to sort of catch it and catch it early and treat it. There's lots of different ways you can treat it with your vet, but you can also treat it through foundational and functional nutrition. The other thing I want to talk about is the horse's lymphatic system. With the lymphatic system of a horse, with humans, there's about 800 lymph nodes, and with horses, there's about 9,000 lymph nodes. So there's a lot of lymph and lymph nodes that move around the body. And the only way to move this lymph is actually through exercise. Why are you backing up to me? Good thing I trust you. So unlike the circulatory system of a horse, where the heart pumps everything, the blood through, the only pump for the lymphatic system is actually exercise. So in holistic medicine or nutrition, we talk about your toxic load. And excuse me again. Some people's toxic loads are greater than others, and this has to do with their environment and their foods, what they're eating. And it's no different like plug-ins and Febreze and all of that stuff in their house, air fresheners. All those things are taken in through your lungs and create a toxic load. Those chemicals have to go somewhere. Your body has to do something with them. And so we talk a lot about the lymphatic drainage and lymph system being able to help. Get out of there. Woo, got a little buck there. Being able to remove, those toxins from the body. So with foundational nutrition, I talk a lot about a forage-based diet, and I'd like to change that term, actually. I'm going to do a little video about that. I'd like to call it a foundational forage-based diet, or a forage foundation diet, because in today's lifestyle of the horse, it's very difficult, especially if you're working that horse, to fulfill all of its nutritional requirements through forage alone. You do still need vitamins, minerals. Your hay or your forage may be lacking, and so we need to make sure that we do some hay testing and look at your hay and figure out what's missing, and then use a ration balance or a supplementation, so that functional nutrition piece to help fill in those gaps and holes. And then the other thing is limiting amino acids. We need to make sure the horse is getting the right amount of limiting amino acids so that they can build tissue and muscle and have the proper functions throughout their body. So if you have a horse that has that cough, there's also some things with functional nutrition that we can do as well. There's lots of herbs that can act as expectorants. There's also lots of herbs that can act as bronchodilators. So there are things we can do to help get toxins out of the lungs, but honestly, exercise and nutrition are your two first best bets, and then working through other things with your vet and with your equine nutrition consultant, that would be me, after that. So we're at 10 minutes. I'd like to keep this under 10 minutes. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and stay tuned because I will be posting a video about what an actual forage-based diet is and what a horse actually needs. So have a great day. Enjoy the weather.